First at 5:30, a New Hampshire man is accused of killing his uncle. The suspect going before a judge today.
Then investigators now believe a series of brush fires in Lynn were set intentionally.
It's just infuriating that somebody would do that and put people's lives at risk, property at risk.
The search for the person responsible as the flames continue to burn.
Sunshine comes back tomorrow, though we track some rain on the way this weekend.
And a local Swifties cancer battle not stopping her from going to Taylor's tour. Her doctor's making sure she doesn't miss the show.
7 News at 5:30 starts now.
First at 5:30, a New Hampshire man accused of shooting and killing his uncle called to court. Police say it happened at a restaurant in Derry. That man is charged with murder.
Right now, investigators are trying to figure out what led up to that shooting. 7's Steve Cooper joining us live in New Hampshire with the latest information from court. Steve.
Kiki, so homicide detectives have come and gone from the crime scene, but customers have been stopping by here all day long at this popular restaurant, really shaking their heads in disbelief, and all this after a deadly dinner time shooting. And today the suspect was facing a judge.
On the record in the case of State versus John Kratz.
27-year-old John Kratz facing a judge Thursday, charged with murdering his 64-year-old uncle John Kratz Jr. here at the Lobster Claw 2 Seafood and Grill in Derry, New Hampshire, just before 6 Wednesday night.
Mr. Kraft's pleas of not guilty will be entered on the second-degree murder complaint.
The victim was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. An autopsy revealed he was shot in the head. Investigators won't say if the shooting happened inside or outside the popular restaurant.
It's tragic.
Heartbroken friends of the victim, who asked not to be identified, are shaken to the core by the deadly violence.
It's I'm going to call it surreal, or, you just don't know how, you can't put in the words.
Kratz was arrested in a car several miles away from the scene. Detectives spending hours overnight looking for evidence.
I'm sorry about what happened. My heart goes out to John's family.
Customers left rattled by the murder are anxious for more information on why the suspect would open fire.
It's hard to believe. I guess you never know nowadays. Everything's so chaotic.
The sign says open tonight, but the restaurant is closed. Kratz is being held without bail tonight, and at the moment, a motive for the murder remains a mystery. That's because all the court documents have been impounded by the judge as the investigation continues. We're live in Derry, New Hampshire tonight. Steve Cooper, 7 News.
Brush fire sparking an arson investigation here in Lynn. Sky 7 flying over a wooded area there where the flames spread in dry, windy conditions. Police say someone set those fires intentionally. Authorities are offering an incentive to help catch the fire bug. 7's Rob Way is in Lynn with the very latest.
The fires burning in Lynn, sparking suspicion. State fire investigators now believe all 8 of them were set on purpose.
Now we've had 4 remote areas with fires. That's concerning. Some of these fires are 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from each other.
Since Friday, the state fire marshal's office says the fires have burned roughly 400 acres. This morning, the smoke could be seen from a busy Walnut Street across Birch Pond. Firefighters say the flames are all contained, but not out in the Lynn Woods Reservation, leaving those who live nearby on edge.
A lot of smoke yesterday, everywhere. When they coming outside, I say, oh my God, what happened?
Lynn's fire chief says they haven't found any physical evidence of arson. Instead, it's all about how the fire has been burning.
They've discovered the latest fire has potentially 8 different burn patterns that look like it was started intentionally.
At this point, the chief says the fire isn't threatening homes like it was in recent days, but it could last a while.
Sometimes it burns itself out in a couple days, sometimes it goes a couple weeks. It all depends on how much built-up debris there is on the ground.
Are you hoping there's a full investigation?
Yes, I hope so. They make investigation because I don't feel safe here. Living alone here is too much for me.
Anyone who may have seen anything over the last week in this area is asked to give state police a call, and they're also saying some of those tipsters could receive up to $5,000. In Lynn, Rob Way, 7 News.
Fire officials say a dog is to blame for a fire in Westport. They say the dog turned on one of the stove burners while trying to get food from a cutting board on the kitchen counter. The cutting board then caught fire. By the time firefighters arrived, the people who lived there had put out the fire.
Body camera footage showing the moment a city councilor in Rhode Island was arrested on drug charges.
You're a councilman in Cranston smoking crack with crack on you. What do you think the constituents would say?
Police say Cranston Councilman Matthew Riley had a glass pipe and a lighter in his hand when he was found passed out in his car on Monday. Riley was charged with possession of crack cocaine.
7 News now to a fiery crash in Florida. A banner plane plummeting straight to the ground. The pilot was killed in the wreck, but his quick thinking moments before that deadly crash may have saved lives. 7's Amanda Crawford has the story.
Holy
A plane plunging.
This plane just fell out of the sky.
And bursting into flames.
It sounded like two trucks just colliding together.
The deadly crash happened Wednesday afternoon in Hollywood, Florida.
That banner guy is flying really low. His banner is way, way down.
A banner plane was in distress, flying low moments before it went down.
It just crashed. It just crashed.
The plane was heading towards the beach from a small airport when the pilot radioed he was in trouble.
Yeah, I might have to drop this banner. I'm not climbing. No, I'm at 400. I got to drop this over a lake.
He would drop the banner but couldn't regain control and crashed in the road.
It was pretty crazy to see.
Maddie Barcy was working nearby when she saw the plane engulfed.
Where it landed, it just missed a car 20 feet from it. So it was really insane to physically watch, and especially being so close. My job, I can see it out the window. It was unreal, unbelievable.
The pilot, the only person on board, did not survive.
Whoever it was made every attempt to not hurt anybody else. There were people on both sides of the road.
Karen Schiff was only feet away from where the plane exploded. She says she could tell the pilot was doing all he could to avoid hitting anyone on the ground.
They went out of their way to not hurt anybody else. He's truly a hero, and his family needs to know that too.
The FAA and NTSB are investigating the cause of that crash. In the newsroom, Amanda Crawford, 7 News.
An apartment building under construction in North Carolina going up in flames this morning. 15 people were rescued by firefighters. One person was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries, and workers say a foam spraying machine caught fire and spread to the floors above. The major flames were put out around noon.
Stop it! Stop the car! Stop the car!
Dramatic video showing a police officer in Iowa trying to stop a suspect from driving away. The officer ends up on the hood of the car, pointed a gun at the suspect. The officer eventually flies off and the suspect sped away. And this happened back in March of 2021. The video was just released because the driver was just sentenced to 5 years in prison. The officer broke his back in that incident, but has since recovered.
More news today. Growing restrictions around abortion access across the country as new bans advance through various state houses. Votes in North and South Carolina this week leave only one southern state without restrictive abortion legislation in motion. South Carolina's abortion ban is one step closer to becoming law. Lawmakers advanced a House bill late Wednesday that restricts most abortions after 6 weeks. While backed heavily by Republicans, not every GOP lawmaker is in favor.
Abortion laws have always been, each and every one of them, about control. It's always about control.
Republican Senator Sandy Senn says she and a bipartisan group of female lawmakers calling themselves sister senators will be ready to fight when that House bill comes back to their chamber.
All of the 5 women will be fighting against this bill. The big nail biter is going to be whether the 3 men who stood with us last time, whether they will stick with us.
In North Carolina, the governor is speaking out after state Republicans overrode his veto on their 12-week ban Tuesday.
People are angry. Women feel like that they have been slapped in the face.
Virginia may soon be the only southern state without heavily restricted abortion access. Nebraska's state house was full of dueling protests Wednesday after a 12-week abortion ban was slipped into an already controversial bill that limits gender-affirming care for anyone under 19 years old.
I think today will be a very dark chapter in Nebraska history.
Nebraska's bill is expected to pass a final vote, possibly as soon as Friday. Other states are seeing similar situations. Montana's governor signed a 15-week abortion ban into law on Tuesday, and a New Orleans Court of Appeals could suspend access to the FDA-approved abortion pill mifepristone.
President Biden arriving in Japan today for a meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister. It comes just one day before the annual G7 summit, which will be held there this year. During that meeting, President Biden expressed appreciation for the close relationship between the two countries.
But I'm proud that the United States and Japan are facing it together. And, we stand up for the shared values, including supporting the brave people of Ukraine as they defend their sovereign territory.
Now, the president's visit was initially planned for 8 days. It was cut short to 4 days so he can return to Washington for debt ceiling negotiations.
New here at 5:30, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu announcing details about Pride Month events in Boston, including the return of the city's Pride Parade. Due to the pandemic, this will be the first Pride Parade held in the city since 2019. The mayor says the parade and other scheduled celebrations are expected to draw big crowds from all over the world.
We are thrilled, along with the many hundreds of thousands, and I would guess maybe likely over 1 million folks who will be attending the long-awaited return of the Pride Parade.
And the Pride Parade will kick off on June 10th in Copley Square.
Still ahead here at 5:30, a delivery dilemma left one family driving 40 miles round trip to get their packages, so they called Solve at 7 to get it fixed.
Plenty of sunshine out there today. It comes back again tomorrow. Then we track rain in here for at least some of the weekend. We'll have that timeline ahead in your forecast.
Then ahead at 6 o'clock, more fallout from the ethics investigation into U.S. Attorney Rachel Rollins, a Boston City Councilor now facing calls to step down over his role.
And Boston drops the ball. The Celtics are trying to bounce back after a Game 1 loss against the Heat. It's all coming up right here on 7 News.
Tonight, their golden years have become dark days.
There's a lot of us dying out in the street.
The growing number of homeless seniors in Massachusetts.
I stand in line for shelters. They're full.
It didn't have to get this bad.
7 investigates this heart-wrenching side of the housing crisis. Tonight at 9 and 10.